Okay, we're live. Okay. Three, two, one. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 206. We're going to call this Fix It, mainly because we're going to talk about the EFF's new initiative called hashtag Fix It Already. So before we start, my name is Haim Cohen. Tom is there somewhere. He's there.
Hey, I'm over here somewhere. I don't know. I'm somewhere.
So just before we start, some house cleaning. So the way we record is we use Hangouts on Air, which is an awesome thing. But apparently that's going away in favor of something else. OBS, I don't know, Open Broadcast System. Is that what that stands for?
I think it's open broadcast software. But yeah, OBS is a great open source project. And if you're into video encoding, streaming software, putting stuff together, working with various APIs, doing like automatic bitrate mapping, depending on your internet service, you should contribute because OBS is a great product and free.
So I care about nothing, like literally nothing of that. I hate video, but we do it because Google's like, here's this app called Hangouts, and you can record you and your friend having conversations and put it on YouTube, and we can monetize on you. But you know what? We hate money, and we're taking that away from you. If you want this, you have to use OBS software, the OBS stuff. And we're trying it. So there is a chance that we may be going to Twitch. If that's the case, I mean, I don't think I'm going to download the video then upload it to YouTube. We will just let you know that. But I suggest you highly subscribe to the podcast feed.
Twitch does have a nice one-click send to YouTube button that I use. Oh. I use liberally for some of my gaming clips. You can see me fail at everything.
Okay, so there you go. So we will probably at some point, whenever Google decides to kill this, move to Twitch and broadcast from there. But we will do the send to YouTube for as long as I can remember to do it. But like I said, I would just go to in30.net, subscribe to it, and just get the feed so we know how many people were listening to it, because you really don't need to see us talk. Like
it's very much audio-centric content.
So anyway, again, while we're doing some house cleaning, the WhatsApp group, fill that out. I put a PodTrack survey in the URL. We're trying to measure how many people actually listen to us and who you are. PodTrack wants you to do that, so I'm asking you nicely to answer their 5 or 6 questions.
Yeah, we're not gonna sell your information or feed it to the wolves or hand it to Mark Zuckerberg directly, even if he asks really nicely. It's literally just for us to figure out, hey, does anyone actually listen to us? And if so, we'd like to hear from you. What do you like? What do you not like? Do we play too many ads? Stuff like that.
So anyway, you have that. So our main story is, and our only story is, the EFF, which is one of my favorite organizations, the Electronic Frontier Foundation. They are defenders of digital privacy rights. Put out this list called Fix It Already. And they have a thing of the big tech companies and what they're doing wrong and what is their main gripe with each one of them. So the first one that was fixed actually was WhatsApp. So WhatsApp would just automatically add you to groups. You can add people to any group you want. So you can put them in some sort of I only like dog groups, which for a cat lover may be blasphemous, but now they're there. So you wake up one morning and you're in 300 anti-political whatever group that you are, and now you have to hear the trolls all day and all night. And you have to unsubscribe, which it doesn't take that long, but it is still a violation of your privacy.
Yeah, this is actually really great. This list, while I don't agree with everything on it, I think it comes from a good place. It definitely comes from the EFF caring about users' privacy and trying to make the world a better place. One little issue at a time. And to kick off this list with, WhatsApp listened, they fixed this thing. You now have to, give your consent to be joined to a group. That's fantastic. Good on the EFF and good on WhatsApp. I'm sure that, wasn't really on their product roadmap, but they did it.
I mean, you have to remember, WhatsApp was developed by 2 privacy-centric people, and when Facebook took over, we've talked about how they left not happy, but they left, even losing a ton on their buyout. I mean, they paid $20 billion for it, and I don't know what the creators walked away from, but they definitely left money on the table for their beliefs. But I guess the problem is that when you're added to a group, your phone number is publicly visible, so they can add you to like bot groups that just scrape your data and then spam you with other things. Now, my friends are not people who would do that, so I never saw that as a problem.
Yeah, I personally have not encountered, being added to random groups on WhatsApp and spam that way. On other messaging systems, sure, absolutely, definitely. But WhatsApp, I don't think I have a large enough base of people that I talk to on a regular basis there for me to even run into that issue. But, you know, all the same, I'm glad it's fixed.
So, yes, good on them. I mean, again, geographically located, there's other issues. I think WhatsApp has a good morning problem. So, do you know about the good morning problem?
I've heard about the good
Mhm.
morning problem, but none of my groups really have the good morning problem.
So, if you don't know what that is, in the Indian culture, they like to wish everyone a good morning. So, if you're in a whole bunch of WhatsApp groups, you're getting bombarded with people just saying good morning. And it's really hard to say, hey, can you stop being polite to me? But it is a problem. Imagine for the first half hour of your day, you're getting 30 and 40 and 50 different good mornings from everyone in your group, and then a response, good morning to you too. And it's added noise that really shouldn't be there. But again, I don't experience that, so I couldn't tell you how big of a problem it really is.
Maybe that's a use case for like an autoresponder, like how you can set up email filters for certain people to automatically, reply to them, given certain keywords or subjects. Like if you get a good morning, automatically pick from like a list of 20 good morning responses or like nice things to say, like, hey, I hope you're having a good day, or, I hope the weather holds out, stuff like that, and just send that to them. That's a real feature.
So let's move on. We have, I think, 9 of these. So the next one, Android. Android should let users deny and revoke apps' internet permissions. I think that's coming in the new version of Android, but this is permissions have been a long time problem of both iOS and Android. There's no real easy way to do it. There's no right way. Well, I don't know if there's a right way yet, but so far both of them haven't really found it.
Yeah, so internet access, it seems like, so what? An application has access to the internet. What are they going to do? And it's sure, most apps, if they ask for internet access, they're not going to do anything nefarious, right? If your browser asks for internet access, it needs that to show you web pages, right? If Signal or WhatsApp asks for internet access, well, it's to send messages. But other applications can do some weird stuff. Like if your flashlight application asks for internet access, it probably doesn't need that. They're probably doing some weird tracking or user scraping or other stuff that you really just don't want. So in modern Android, you can actually revoke permissions to things like microphone, camera access, contacts. There's a whole list. But the only thing you can't revoke access to or even deny access to is internet access, which should probably be on the list of revocable permissions.
And on the EFF site, they're saying that Apple has the same issue, but Google is more about tracking you. I mean, at least that's what Apple wants you to think, that Apple's more privacy centric and Google is tracking you. So to have internet on and app runnings in the background, always pinging it, leads to more issues.
So for those of you out here who may be saying, well, why do you have an app that doesn't use internet access? I mean, like the flashlight's built into settings. You can just toggle it on. You don't need an application for that. I actually personally use a couple different like pen and paper role-playing game applications just to look up random stuff, a monster codex, right? It's already built into the application. Doesn't need to go out and fetch data, or a list of spells for my level 2 wizard, so I can know what I'm preparing in the morning before I go out to battle the goblin horde. It doesn't need internet access, so why does it have it?
I'm hoping, but again, like I said, the next version of Android, which apparently probably in a few weeks, because they're already beta testing it. So probably in the late summer, we should be seeing it. is supposed to be much more permission focused. Like I think it'll let you revoke permissions while you're in the app and let you do it. Because here's the problem: you get the question, "Would you like the camera to take photos?" Yeah, sure. I need it right now. But if you want to revoke it right after, you should be able to. And finding it deep in the settings is not an easy thing for most people.
I would really like the ability to toggle a permission that expires. Like, and by default, make it a day, make it 30 days, make it a year even. I'd like to be able to, for those applications where I just want to send like a picture of the thing in front of me and never send another, camera shot ever again in this application, toggle it on, give me 5 minutes, and have the permission just vanish after 5 minutes. That's really what I want.
So let's move on. Apple should let users encrypt their iCloud backups.
This is a big one. This is absolutely a big one, and people have been asking for this for ages.
So if you currently connect to if you're using Time Machine, which I do, they give you an option to encrypt your drive, which I do. You can encrypt your local Time Machine backups, which I do, but you can, when you send it to iCloud, which I don't know if I do because I don't have an iPhone. I have it on my Mac. It's not encrypted, so government requests Apple can comply and send them to you. Now, we're going to speculate here, but I have a feeling is that people, if they let you encrypt it, people will lose it, and they just want to make sure that they're able to provide a seamless experience and not have this, oops, just because you forgot your password, you lost your data, you're stuck. There's no like fail safe in this case.
Yeah, this is mostly for Apple mobile devices. So your Apple device will do, backups of your data to iCloud automatically. And you do have the option to turn that off. Now I will say it's a dangerous thing to turn off, because if your phone blows up, if you throw it in a lake, if you drop it somewhere and shatter it and it won't turn on anymore, your data's gone unless it's been backed up to iCloud or you have a local backup stashed away somewhere. Nobody really does that anymore. The issue is that if your iPhone is backed up to iCloud, and we've seen this in countless court cases already, with a subpoena, with a warrant, the government can and does access iCloud backups. They can definitely pull that stuff down and, get access to your phone, just like if they had it in their hands and it was unlocked. So being able to take, a user set password, use that to generate an AES encryption key, encrypt your backup blob, and then ship it to Apple is fantastic. It's really the best way to do it. Now, Apple will be losing, it will cost more to store that, because with encryption, with certain types of encryption, you do lose the ability to deduplicate data across varying data sets. So if I store the same data that you store, but we're using different passwords, which we should be, the encrypted data looks completely different. So Apple can't deduplicate that. It's kind of the easiest, like 100 level explanation of that. But for technical users who really want to take, the next step in backup security, I think encrypted iCloud backups should absolutely be an option.
I mean, they should bury it, but they should at least make it an option.
Agreed. I think not having it, I don't want to say they should turn it off by default, but that is the most user-friendly answer. And honestly, most of our threat models don't include hiding data from the authorities or from government subpoenas. I think for the majority use case, not encrypting backups would be okay. But it should be an option, and they should let you. Google even does that with their Chrome sync data. They let you have a sync passphrase that they encrypt all your data with. They've been trying to get rid of that, but it still exists if you know where to find it.
So I still have it, and it tells you this is the password you created X number of days or years ago, but there's no way to change it. So what you have to do is so you have to sync it, get the correct password, then you have to turn it off, and then you have to turn it back on, which is really, really annoying. I'm sure there's a reason for that, but I liked it because it separates your password, your Google password, from there, which means that they really don't have access to it.
Yeah. So Google, if you're using that, can't easily decrypt your information. If they give you a custom build of Chrome and make it synchronize all your stuff to the NSA, there's not much you can do about that if you're still using Google's products. But it is, one step further. In the end, though, this should be a fairly, I don't want to say easy because there's probably a whole lot of work that goes into a feature like this, but this is definitely something that's well within Apple's wheelhouse, and more importantly, well within their marketing. They could absolutely say, "Hey, look, we've taken the next step: encrypted iCloud backups. Keep your stuff safe from government prying eyes. Thanks, we're Apple. Privacy first."
They can absolutely do that. I think we just go back to what happens if, but I have a feeling eventually they're going to find a way to solve this problem. They'll two-factor it with the phone or whatever they can do and continue from there. Moving on, Facebook should leave your phone number where you put it. Absolutely. They should. Yep. You give them the phone number. I gave them my phone number for two-factor purposes only, and now I can't delete it. They're selling ads against my phone number, or just Facebook, stop with my phone number.
Yeah, totally agree.
So I'm just seeing, is there anything else? They're saying the phone number is used for security, two-factor, but then they take it and sell against ads against you. And we saw this a few weeks ago. Let's see.
Yeah, we bragged pretty hard on Facebook for this a few weeks ago.
Again, it's one of those, Facebook does these creepy things, so we have to be careful. But okay, talk about social networks. Twitter should end-to-end encrypt direct messages. I don't use the direct message feature all that often, so yes, I guess I would like it encrypted. I would like everything encrypted, but I don't know why Twitter is supposed to be public, and so they made this weird this private message type thing. But I don't ever assume that anything on Twitter is private.
Yeah, so I usually agree, and this is why I gave the disclaimer at the beginning. I usually agree with just about everything the EFF puts out within reason. This I can't agree with, and I love end-to-end encryption. I want to encrypt all the things all the time, no matter what the reason or use case. It's just better that way. But end-to-end encrypted direct messages, I know people have asked for this in the past, but I honestly don't see the use case. So if they do, let's think about the implementation details, right? Who controls the keys? Do you do a key derived from a Twitter password? Well, now you have a Twitter password and then hopefully a different, completely separate DM password that gets converted into a key. But then you're sharing that long-lived key across several devices, right? Across your iPad and your Android tablet and your phone and your web client, and then you've got to integrate it with TweetDeck and your third-party applications. Like, how do you enable end-to-end encryption and per-device keys and even short-lived keys? Because you don't want to just slap AES on top of it and call it a day. Then you have the same problems that you have with a system like PGP, where if you get the core master key, everything else falls apart. I just don't see how they could implement this in a rational way. Should it be encrypted? Should it have been built better from the start? Maybe, but I really don't see the utility here. I disagree with this.
I mean, I can see, let's say, a journalist who has a source that wants to message the journalist with a signal number. Like, there's no way to say, here's my phone number, call me, especially if there's a request put out there. So maybe there's a single use case. But, I mean, a journalist would have the phone number listed in the profile, and then the source can signal or find another secure method of messaging them.
Yeah, I don't really see the utility in that.
I mean, yes, I would like DMs to be encrypted, but I never assumed they are. I never would have ever assumed that Twitter being so public. So yes, would I? Yes. Does it matter? Not really. So,
and just as an aside, it's interesting to look at Facebook and Twitter when they developed at the start. Facebook was a very private, very closed network for you and your friends, very very much limited to just college students early on. And Twitter was built to be, public first, and anything you put out there is just out there open in the world. So it's interesting to see how users use both systems and the types of information that it's on Facebook versus what's on Twitter. But I think that's a totally different show.
Yep, I think you're right there. So let's move on. Venmo should let their users hide their friends list. I guess
That's a no-brainer.
Yeah, sure. They just recently stopped the public, like everything was public by default. So you're sending someone whatever and you tag it with a funny heading that may or may not be appropriate. Everyone got to see it. So they got to see your transactions, which now they made private. And I think the next thing is, hey, can you make the friends private? I don't use Venmo all that much to really care, but I guess you can start seeing patterns and trends, and you, especially if you're a stalker, you can try and use that against somebody or against the police, saying you're helping out or doing whatever it is. So yes, I don't think this is a top priority, but yes, okay, fine. Venmo, yes, hide your friends.
I'm not even sure why Venmo tried to make payments a social network. That's literally the last thing I need in my life.
I mean, Venmo is owned by PayPal, so but then again, I don't know why they just don't use PayPal. Like, I feel like why did you need an easy, if you need to spin off your app to make it an easier to understand app, you're doing your core business model wrong.
Yeah, so, I agree. The last thing I need people knowing is how much money I spend on stuff like Steam games. So please, MasterCard, Visa, American Express, Discover, do not make a social network out of my payments.
Right. Verizon should stop pre-installing spyware on its user phones. Yes, they should stop.
Yeah.
Stop. Verizon, stop. When you buy a phone, it should be fresh and clean. There should be no apps installed. Or maybe you can buy one with a discount, but if you go to a store and say, I want this phone, it should absolutely be ad-free.
Yeah, and the unfortunate thing is they are calling out Verizon here in their headline, but I don't know of a phone company that doesn't do this besides, Apple, buying your phones directly from Apple, because they literally tell the carriers, hey, you're going to sell an iPhone as we intend, or you're not going to sell the iPhone. Take it or leave it, which I think is fantastic. None of the other Android manufacturers have really done that. I have been in business conversations, negotiating with phone companies on contracts trying to buy Android phones. And we said, hey, can we get it without, all these games installed? Like they're literally just advertisements for stuff that our business users really don't need. They need Exchange. So they need email and calendar and contacts, and that's about it. And they were literally going to pay some poor intern to go through and go to settings and click disable on every single game on every single phone out of the thousands and thousands of phones we were buying, and that's ridiculous. I wouldn't have minded paying more to get something clean and without all this adware and spyware installed. Verizon's particularly bad, but they all do it.
And what they're doing is it's something about ad flash. They're using not just apps that like Candy Crush that'll get you addicted to them, and they're being product placed, but they're talking about tracking apps for whatever reason. I think Verizon has so much tracking data. I don't know why they need more at this point.
Yeah.
It's when they do it, it's just really annoying. I just want a clean experience. Let's see. Android, Facebook, Twitter, Venmo, WhatsApp, Apple, Slack. We got two more. Slack should give free accounts control over retention. And I think you want to explain what Slack is just to begin with?
Yeah. So Slack is kind of built for corporations, although you can use it anywhere. It's a chat app that's kind of pretty IRC. You can create a lot of rooms. You can manage permissions in there. They've got emojis. They've got cool bot integrations. Slack is actually a pretty wonderful product. It's not end-to-end encrypted in any way, right? They do use, TLS. They do connection security. But if, the government wants your Slack chats, they have them. The EFF wants Slack to give users more control over data retention. So right now, how it works is on Slack free accounts, you can scroll back up through your messages until you hit 10,000. Once you get beyond the most recent 10,000 messages, which Sounds like a lot, but if you're running a company, it's really not all that much. It pops up a little thing. It says, "Hey, you've reached your scroll back limit. We still have all your messages, but to scroll back up further and see the rest, you're going to have to pay for a paid account," which I think is a perfectly valid business model. What the EFF is calling out is that they still have your messages. They don't delete anything beyond the 10,000 because when you pay, you just get access to everything, which I think is a better user experience. On the other hand, it would be really nice as a Slack operator, a Slack admin for a group, to say, hey, only keep like the most recent 10,000 and then delete the rest. I'm never going to have a paid account, or even if I do, can you delete everything just so you're not storing every message? Can you, purge only, everything older than 1,000 messages? And I think that would be nice. I think giving direct control over this is probably not the right answer, but maybe allow people to more easily delete their Slack history.
I mean, Slack is an app that can be open sourced. I don't know why they haven't created something similar to that open sourced where
they have.
Okay, so
yeah, there's like 10 of them.
The problem is Slack is pretty, and people have now gravitated towards it. My work wants us to use, I guess, what's the Microsoft thing? Teams.
Yep.
Same idea. They're all really clunky pieces of software, but they look pretty, and for the most part, they work. Let's see.
At the end of the day, it's just pretty IRC. That's all any chat app is. It's just pretty IRC.
So last one, Windows 10 users should let users keep their disk encryption keys to themselves. So when you encrypt your drive, Windows keeps at least a copy of the key. And I mean, I guess you can write it down, but they keep a copy of it. And I think they do it just to help their customers. I think letting people encrypt their drive and their backup and not letting them and making them write down a very long passphrase is probably not the right solution. So they say, hey, you know what? Instead of dealing it, we'll deal with it. And when your computer asks for it, we'll just give it away.
Yeah, so it's important to mention that that requirement is only on Windows 10 Home Edition. So anything above Home, like Pro and above, will let you manage your own encryption keys without backing anything up to Microsoft. But to encrypt your disk on Windows 10 Home, you have to have a Microsoft account, and the keys will automatically be backed up to Microsoft's cloud. I think that is super shady. I think it is crippling the Windows Home Edition. And honestly, I would push people to use any other encryption solution that they find valuable.
I mean, BitLocker is built in. That's the thing. It's built in, and it's one button. But going a third party may be the right answer if this bothers you.
Yeah. And BitLocker is not immune, and not to say that other, open source or alternative disk encryption technologies are immune to security issues. But BitLocker, I remember, I want to say last year, got in major trouble for relying on, SATA encryption that was built into drive firmware, into SSD firmware, where it actually didn't encrypt anything. Yeah, and they only found it out because a team of security researchers actually did the work to see if it was doing anything, and it turns out it wasn't. It just told you it was encrypted while keeping everything in plain text. That's a major issue. So at this point, I wouldn't and don't rely on BitLocker for anything.
So again, Windows, if you're going to encrypt, they should allow you to at least have the option to keep your key. Like, let's say you say no, you say, okay, type it in. I need to verify that you have a printer. Like, make it really difficult, but at least give them the option there, other than having to go pro or whatever it is. So,
agreed.
So this is the list of EFF stuff that they want fixed. Like, we went through each single one. I think most of these are brain dead simple that you probably should do. But again, it's one of those things you should check. Your mileage may vary. And you know what? Call them out. If you want one of these things fixed, contact that person in the legislator's office and say, hey, I actually care about security. Can we get this fixed so we can solve problems?
Yeah, and if you care about one product in particular in this list or a few, then a lot of these companies have feature requests, they've got email addresses, they've got Twitter and Facebook pages. Like, reach out to the companies and say, hey, Apple, I really want this fixed. Send them the link to the EFF page and say, look, you should let me encrypt my iCloud backup. I can handle it. I'm a technical user and I want to be in control of my own privacy, right? Play up their marketing. If they say we care about your data, we care about your privacy, and we care about you as a user, make them prove it.
So again, I'm proud of WhatsApp for actually doing it. It shows that this list is working.
Agreed.
So I hope some of the easier implemented ones, or at least issue a press release saying, hey, in our next version of whatever, we're taking your thing seriously and we'll get back to you hopefully soon. So
yeah. And big thanks to the EFF for even putting together this list. I mean, a lot of thought, time, and energy went into making this campaign, into pushing it out, and getting a bunch of traction behind it. And as we can see with WhatsApp, it's actually making a difference. So if you've got the spare funds, spare time, spare whatever, hit up EFF.org and throw up a donation. Get a cool t-shirt, get some laptop stickers. My thing is covered in EFF stickers right now. They're just a fantastic organization to support.
So... And yes, and every year at DEF CON, I re-up my subscription for the year, and I get a new T-shirt and everything else. So help them out. Anyway, we are over time, so we will hopefully see you next week.
See you, everyone.
Okay, bye.